What's up, guys, and welcome back to Will Sports Talk. And in this video, I'm going to kind of talk about and try to break down the Northwestern situation going on right now. That's been going on for the past few days now. For those of you that don't know, Pat Fitzgerald, the head football coach, was fired July 11th after reports of hazing started surrounding the program. And for those of you that don't know what hazing is, I guess you could say, is basically another name for bullying. It's basically humiliating, abusing, bullying someone by basically making them do something that they don't want to do. And this little bit of information right here I got from CBS Sports. And according to CBS Sports, the type of hazing that has been surrounding the program here lately is called running. And running is when the upperclassmen, like the seniors, juniors, and maybe some of the sophomores, would kind of mess or pick on the freshmen, the younger classmen, by basically taking them into a dark room and quote unquote dry humping them for punishment for like messing up on something, messing up during practice or something. But reporters actually interviewed Pat Fitzgerald about the whole situation. And Pat Fitzgerald claims that him nor any of the coaching staff actually had no idea that the hazing was going on. And as of right now, they have no evidence to prove it. But even though he said that, reports have come out that 11 current and former students from Northwestern are saying that they can basically confirm that there have been reports of hazing going on for several years now at Northwestern. And according to Chicago Tribune, President Michael Schill called the culture at Northwestern broken, as he called it. And a report by one of the students actually, even though Pat Fitzgerald came out and he said, look, we know nothing about this, a report came out by one of the students that basically said that the coaching staff did know about it and that they had plenty of chances to do something about it, had plenty of chances to say something to somebody to kind of put an end to it, but they never did. And because of all this, Northwestern has not come out and said if they are going to pay Pat Fitzgerald for the remainder of his contract. And if you ask me, I mean, this whole thing is under investigation right now. And if they finish this investigation and they do find out that Pat Fitzgerald and or the coaching staff, any of the coaching staff, knew nothing about it, I'd give Pat Fitzgerald his money. I'd give him every dime. But we will see what comes up about that whole situation. And Pat Fitzgerald's contract before this all came about. He was actually in year 2 of a 10-year contract. And this contract was worth over $40 million. So, and just to give a little background on Pat Fitzgerald, Pat Fitzgerald was actually hired by Northwestern in 2006. And ever since he was hired in 2006, he actually has a combined 110 and 101 record at Northwestern. And that includes 10 bowl appearances, 5 of those being wins. And that also includes 2 Big Ten West titles, once in 2018 and then once in 2020. And Pat Fitzgerald is also considered one of the greatest players and one of the greatest coaches in Northwestern football history. So, and a few days after they fired Pat Fitzgerald, like 2 or 3 days later, they did announce the hiring of an interim coach before they can find a permanent coach to step in. And they actually decided to promote defensive coordinator David Braun to the interim spot for the upcoming season. Like I said, until they can find a permanent head coach. And David Braun, before he got promoted to interim, he was actually entering his first season as the defensive coordinator at Northwestern. And before he was at Northwestern, he was actually at North Dakota State, where he was defensive coordinator from 2019 through 2022. But now that we know a little bit about that situation, I kind of want to go over 4 coaching candidates that I think would be a good fit at Northwestern. And 3 out of 4 of these guys are actually offensive minds, because if you watched Northwestern last year, they really struggled on offense. That is their major need, is to kind of boost that offense, because they only scored 13.75 points per game last year. So, but without being said, kind of want to name off these guys. And the first name that I have is New York Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. And Mike Kafka actually has a Northwestern background. He was actually Northwestern's quarterback from 2005 to 2009. And then after that, he was actually a grad assistant at Northwestern in 2016. And then after that, he went on to coach the quarterbacks for Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs, in 2018. And then, of course, after that is when he was hired as the Giants offensive coordinator in 2022. And the thing about Kafka being the head coach, the thing that I like is it would really boost that offense like it needs to be. Under Kafka, the New York Giants actually had 21.5 points per game. And if any of y'all watched the New York Giants 2 years ago or this year, under Kafka, Daniel Jones saw a drastic improvement. Daniel Jones played a lot better. He transformed Daniel Jones. So that is why I think that right there would be a good hire. And going on to my second guy, it's actually former Wisconsin defensive coordinator, Jim Leonhard. And Jim Leonhard, he's one of those guys, he's fairly young. He's only 40 years old. He's a very bright, intelligent coach. He actually played in the NFL for a while. Kind of bounced around from team to team. I think he actually ended up playing for like 5 or 6 teams. Then after that, he actually coached the DBs at Wisconsin in 2016. And then in 2017, he was promoted to defensive coordinator. And then he's been in Wisconsin ever since. And also in 2017, his defense actually ranked second in the nation in total yards allowed, only giving up 262.1 yards per game, and ranked third in scoring defense, scoring 13.9 points per game. Then also in 2017, he was actually a finalist for the Broyles Award. And for those of you that don't know what that award is, it is actually awarded to the best college football assistant coach. So, and then of course you got last year with Wisconsin. Wisconsin allowed just 239.1 yards per game, which is third best in school history, and it's the lowest total since 1954. And it's also the lowest yards given up by any FBS school since 2011. But my third guy on my list is actually former Wisconsin head coach Paul Christ. And Paul Christ, he is a very good offensive mind. And Paul Christ is actually proving, he is a proven winner. During his time at Northwestern, or Wisconsin, he actually has a combined 43-16 record. And he also has multiple 10-win seasons at Wisconsin. And during his whole coaching career, he actually has an 86-45 combined record. And he was also named Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2016 when he led Wisconsin to a 13-1 record. And one thing to note is he is also one of only 3 coaches to win 50 games in his first 5 seasons. The only one with more wins than him is Urban Meyer. And back when he was OC for Wisconsin, before he got promoted to the interim and eventually got the head, he was OC. And back when he was OC, he actually led one of the most explosive offenses in Wisconsin history. And that offense actually averaged 41.5 points per game. And they actually scored 70 points in 3 of their games in one season. So, and then the last guy I have on here is actually newly hired Alabama offensive coordinator Tommy Rees. And I've talked about Tommy Rees in one of my videos prior to this one. I think it was like my second video. But Tommy Rees, he is a very young guy. He's a very bright, smart guy. He actually started his coaching career at Northwestern. He started his career at Northwestern as a grad assistant. And then after that, he coached quarterbacks at Notre Dame in 2017. Then after that, he was promoted to the OC in 2020. And in his 3 years at Notre Dame, his offenses averaged 33.4 points per game in 2020, averaged 35.2 points per game in 2021, then averaged 31.8 points per game in 2022. So Tommy Rees can run a very explosive offense as well. Now, those are my coaching candidates. That's everything to do with Northwestern. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope y'all join me next week for my next video. And I will see y'all.